So there's a lot of strategies that we can use to be better salespeople. But the question I have is, what makes a great salesperson? Like, that's a question I've been actually been looking for the answer for that question since I was in my late teens. I got my real estate license at the age of 19, sold my first house 2 weeks later, and I was just faking it. You know, people say you got to fake it till you make it. But I soon learned that faking it doesn't work. You actually had to have some skills. So I wanted to learn some skills. And the most important skills that I thought when I was young were like just understanding the product, understanding homes, understanding how to show houses, let people in, open houses and all that. And those are really, really good skills. But if you really want to build yourself as a professional and build your business, you really have to know how to connect fast, and you have to know how to connect deeply. So the question I have is, how do you connect fast, instantly, and then stay connected? And then once you're connected, how do you go to the levels of trust, safety, and respect? And that's what we talk about in the curiosity theory in the workshop. And the idea is to go from you start for the theory, which is just the idea, and then go to practice, which is implementing the idea, and then mastery, which is actually being able to do that without thinking. And what I have today, what I put together today is three masters, three guys that I have a lot of respect for. Two of them I know really, really well. One of them we talk a lot in Facebook and social media. I watch what he does. I admire what he does. And what I want to do is learn from him. So I'm not coming tonight as an expert. I'm coming as a curious investigator to really see, what does it take to make a great salesperson? So what I want to do right now is I want to bring on my three guests. And let's get them introduced. Let me see. Hey guys, how you doing?
Fantastic.
Awesome.
Really wonderful, wonderful.
As long as you don't stutter, we're okay, right, Joe?
Absolutely. We're going to be great as we go through. Hi, Steven.
What's up, boy?
I know, Steven. Yes. Charles, how are you? I feel bad because my name is missing something, so I have to fix it now. Right.
Why don't you go fix that, and then I'll have Charles start. So Charles, why don't you take a second, introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about your book, what you're up to, and then we're going to go to Steven, and then we'll go to Joe.
Sure. So hello, everybody. My name is Charles Best, and what I really want to know is, when Martine introduced us, he said 2 he's really good friends with, and 1 he doesn't.
That's right.
That well, so I don't know which one I am. That's awesome. So anyway, I have known Martine for a long time, so I hope I'm one of the good friends. And the reason why he's asked me probably to be part of this is because I have 30 years of sales experience, and Martine may remember there was a time when I had all the experience in the world, but I didn't have a job. And we all might find ourselves at that at one point where you think, well, I thought I was a good salesperson, I don't have a job. And what happened was, Martine, you actually introduced me to a person, and you said, hey, this guy is a really good salesperson. And I remember thinking, boy, I got to act like a really good salesperson to this guy when he introduces me. And it worked. And here I am today, as an experienced salesperson. So, what I found out really quickly is that I've met a lot of people in sales and marketing, and many of them have not learned how to actually do the sales basics 101. They learned things from internet marketing, but some of the basics were forgotten and not taught. And so I wrote a book, Ninja Sales Secrets, and it has done very well to give people some of the basics, and we can talk about that later. But that's where my sales career has gotten me today. I now do business development for a very large company that is that's asked me to actually represent 20 different companies. So that's what I get to go to, from one division to the next, whichever one needs me the most.
That's huge. Congratulations.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
How about Steven? Steven, tell us a little bit about you, what you're up to, and you have a book too.
Does that tell you, Charles? Does that tell you which one of us is the guy just on Facebook? I just want to throw that out there. Yeah,
I'm starting to get a picture.
I'm working at a jail today, and I'd be infiltrated by my children, which here comes the first one. But I learned about selling when I was 10 years old, actually. And I had no idea what selling was, but when you're 10 years old, you don't really know anything. You just kind of go do. And I was selling newspapers. And then when I was 14, I started knocking doors, selling home renovations for my dad's company. And what I started to discover was sales was listening, you know, and then also understanding your craft enough so that based on what you're hearing, you know how to respond. And what's interesting about listening and responding, especially if you're on cue, is this was something I came up with. They want to be heard, acknowledged, understood, and then taken care of. And at a very short period of time, you know, people didn't know they needed a newspaper when I came knocking at their door, but I gave them a reason why they needed a newspaper. And I was just like, okay, I'm going to buy a newspaper from you. When I came by selling home renovations for my dad, you know, if the roof was like all the composite shingles were pulling off and concrete was cracked, it was an easy conversation to have. But now, you know, the one thing that my dad taught me, and don't take this term the wrong way, is how do you separate people from their money? And ultimately, you're solving a problem that usually is an exchange of dollars and cents. And how do you take care of people where they feel heard, understood, and then you demonstrate that they're going to be taken care of in such a way that they're like, when can we start? Versus, do you want to sign the contract now? So selling is an interesting word because I truly believe that you're not pushing anything on anybody. You're hearing what they're saying, you're providing solutions, you express what may work in their monetary finances at the time, or when you may revisit if they can't afford it, and show that you care through the process. And then people don't want to go shop 40 or 50 people. They just don't. So there's just a real connection that happens in a process of problem solving as opposed to selling. And then people are like, I like you. You've made me feel comfortable. Can we start? Versus, hey, do you want to start? So it's kind of how it's evolved for me over since, 39 years, I guess, since I started knocking my first door.
That's awesome. And Joe, who actually is the first time you and I have actually spoken this way. So Joe, you're the guy that's the new guy to the block. So Charles,
yeah, I'm just that guy, Steven. Charles. See, I told you. Yes. So I was just waiting for Steve to ask me if I was ready to start. Right. I was like, it's gonna be the perfect time. He's just gonna look over and go, Joe, you ready to start? And I'll be like, there you go. I won already in the battle of salespeople. So Joe Ingram, sales genius. So my career has been in the automotive side of things. And so I've taken several dealerships from being good to great in the capacity of saying I've had several times as management, I've hit 1,000 cars a month when your average dealership across the United States is 100 and 107 a month.
That's nuts.
Right. So I get to call Grant and go, dude, I 10X'd. Right. And without a jet.
Like 100X'd, man.
Yeah. And so when you look, right. So to me, the answer was you get in and I like leading sales teams. And so anytime I ever ventured away from automotive in a dealership, I worked for vendor companies that supported them. And so then I went there and the goal was what? To increase revenue. I worked at a criminal defense law firm where I tripled revenue in less than 9 months because it's sales. It's all about sales and it's all about, can I understand what the client is looking for, right? And a lot of times as salespeople, we tend not to listen. As Stephen was saying, see, I listened, Stephen, right? You listen to the people and then you're going to find the ability to sell somebody if, for me, I teach everybody that get rid of your ego, right? Because ego is EGO, which is edging gross out of your deal. Mm-hmm. So if I'm so dependent on being me and I have to be me during the process, then I'm going to end up walking away from profitability or a sale. And so I'd rather be who Martin needs me to be so Martin feels comfortable buying from me. I'm going to go ahead and be what Charles needs me to be to sell him something. I need Stephen to find me as the person he can buy from, not me saying, I'm Joe, the three of you take it or leave it. Mm-hmm. Right? And so that's what I look at it. And I go in and I teach sales departments, I teach teams, I teach companies. This is how we get in and this is how we get a client to do what we need them to do so that they can actually feel comfortable with us to buy something.
I love it. So we started talking about listening. That was the first part. Each one of you.
I didn't hear that.
Listening. That's right. Oh. That's right.
But so I'm a smart ass for everybody who's new.
That's okay. That's all right. We're going to have fun.
I believe humor is the easiest way to convey a message. So,
Awesome.
Or you're hard of hearing. Could be hard of hearing. Yeah.
That's right. So listening is the thing we talked about. And how did you develop your listening skills? Like anybody go ahead and just go. But the question is, where did you learn your listening skills?
So I'm an auditory learner. Okay. So the first thing I did was go out and took a test on how it is that I process information.
Interesting.
So it's visual, auditory, and kinesthetic.
Okay.
Visual people have to see it to learn it. Auditory people have to hear it to learn it. And a kinesthetic person has to do it to learn it.
Okay.
So I'm auditory. I've always listened to people. So to me, the phone is my best friend. Okay. I look just like Brad Pitt over the phone. So I can get in there and I can listen and I can hear people on the phone and I can tell when they disconnected from somebody. I can tell when whatever I just said didn't go over well, didn't land right. Okay. But I'm not distracted by anything visual. I'm not distracted by commotion that goes on. I just live through my ears. So listening was always easy. What I had to do is teach myself the right questions to get people talking. That was the part that I had to stop and say, I need to learn what it is so that I don't have to listen to, 4 hours of your Hawaii vacation while I'm trying to sell you something.
I got it. Stephen, listening. How about you? How did you learn your lesson in listening?
I think a lot of trial and error, honestly. I think a lot of people that know how to work with people up front don't understand the skill set that they were initially born with, right? I just believe everybody's dealt a different skill set.
Mm-hmm.
I was dealt with listening skills, but it didn't always mean that I cared about what I heard. So I had to start understanding what my role was.
Hi, Winter.
I think that's a neighbor. As a service professional, I had to really learn what my role was and why it was critical to pay attention to what people were saying or doing. Because if I'm the same thing Joe he disconnected, right? That's the same thing that I do. You can just tell if tonality changes, if somebody's off cue, if all of a sudden their answers start becoming different than what they were giving you. And I always had that. I just didn't always act on it. And as I started to take life a bit more seriously, which was only at, 36 when I finally got married, everything else in my life was just I'll call it a joke. I didn't really care about a lot of things. I did relatively well, but I didn't put everything together. I didn't put everything together because it didn't matter to me until I got married and had kids. And I was like, holy crap, I got to be an adult and responsible. And I really started, I want to grow a business. And so that idea of understanding selling started to become a lot more clear for me as I started to understand what I wanted out of life and how I need to be serving people versus I'm making money at this job. I like people, I'll help them, but I didn't turn it up. And then I broke down the process and really understood that I had the skills, but now I had to develop them further.
That's awesome. Charles, how about you?
I'm sorry, what was the question? No, I'm just kidding. So one thing I can say right now is that if you don't listen, you will definitely say something wrong to the person that you're selling your products or services to. One of the things that I teach is, and I know that all three of the gentlemen here have gone through one form or another of personality training, I'm sure that you guys have. And what we have learned when you're kind of in a higher advanced level is you learn that what not to say. You know what personality you're dealing with, and so even though there's a lot of rainbow kind of people, they may be really driver or mellow or detail oriented. If you listen quick enough, you can learn enough to know what not to say to a person, what would piss them off, and you don't want that. And so that's really one of the first things I learned. Another thing, as far as listening, and this I learned. I hope my wife isn't watching this. This I learned in marriage counseling. All right, and I've taken it with me all throughout my sales career, at least the successful part of my sales career. And that is that when you're in marriage counseling, and then the counselor says, what's the problem? And then the wife says, he doesn't love me the way I want him to love me. And then the counselor turns to me and says, what did you hear, Charles? And I say, I don't know. She thinks I treat her badly. And my wife goes, no, that's not what I said. And then she says it again, and I say it wrong. And so what I've learned is that if you can repeat what the person said to you, and they say, yes, that's exactly, or they show you that's exactly what I'm saying, that communication connection has solidified, and you now can move in a direction of, whatever it is that you guys are talking together about. We want to exchange goods or services. You want to sell them something. And so I've just learned to just repeat what I've heard, and that makes me pay attention to what they're saying. And it's really worked well for me.
I love that. It seems like what all three of you guys have said is that listening became critical. Like you found a reason to do it. It wasn't like I wanted to listen, because do we listen because I want to listen to this,
Hey, Joe, you're muted. So
you're muted, buddy.
They're just babbling anyway, right? That's all they're doing. They're just blah, blah, blah. And I'm supposed to listen. I don't get it. Yeah.
So Joe was talking about, I learned that it wasn't about me. And then Stephen learned how to listen. He was talking about how he went through his process learning. And then Charles, you're talking about how you learned how to listen because you went to counseling. And then you realized that what you were listening is what you heard wasn't what you repeated back wasn't what was said. And then we create a necessity. Wow, I got to get better at this. I got to actually listen.
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
I mean, we're talking about sales, right? I mean, we could talk about relationships and all that, but the fact of the matter is that everything in life is about sales, especially when you ask a salesperson. Everything there is a sales negotiation going on in everything. And I now have granddaughters, and I can tell you that my 2-year-old is selling me stuff all the time, and I'm buying it because
that's right. You got that little smile on her face. Congratulations, by the way. I didn't know you had a granddaughter. Congratulations. Two. Oh wow. So what you said is sales and relationships. Aren't they synonymous? Aren't they the same thing actually? Aren't you building a relationship every time you're selling?
I could take over this whole thing, guys. But the sales and relationships. Here's the thing: every good salesperson knows how to quickly build a relationship with the person that they're selling to. And I remember when I met Zig Ziglar back in the day, and for some reason, after waiting in this long line, Zig Ziglar shook my hand and asked me a couple questions, and in 30 seconds, he knew. I felt like he knew me. How does that happen? And it's a skill. Some people have it naturally, but it's a skill that people develop on how to connect as fast as possible. And I've taken that with me in all of my time here in sales. And I've really learned that you can connect quickly, but you have to have a strong desire to do that. And so that's kind of one of the ways that's helped me build it. How can you meet someone and after 10 seconds not talk to them anymore and have them say, oh, he's a great guy, we're great connected, we can't wait to spend more time with him. That's kind of learning how to create a relationship quickly. And I think that's what great salespeople, one of the skills that we possess is.
I think that's really accurate. I was kind of thinking about, when I started as a salesperson, I wanted to do sales. So I was doing certain things to have sales. And then at some point I was kind of bored of being a salesperson. So I had to actually develop other skills. I had to go find some other skills to be able to implement to keep me engaged in what I'm doing. So what other skills have you guys come up with? If that's even something that's happened to you, that you created other skills in order to keep yourselves engaged, in order to separate yourself and say, hey, this is not about you. This is not about me. This is about you. What skills have you guys developed to be able to do that?
So when I met Les Brown, now what, Charles? We're going to name drop. Right, Zig Ziglar. I'm waiting for who Steve's going to come up with it. Right? Yes, I'm going to wait for Steve to come up with when I met
Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Yes, the Colonel. Right? He knows about sales, but no. To me, when you're sitting down and you start, I don't look for a relationship sale. So when you look at what I do, I go more for the closer sale. I go in and I'm going to be the person that's going to advise you on what you need to do. I'm going to be the guy that says, guess what? You don't need X, Y, and Z, right? We need QRST. That's what it's going to be for you. And you're going to need to look at this and this and this. And I treat your money as if it's my money. And I'm not trying to outgross, and I'm not trying to do any. I will sell a lot, and you will appreciate me in the capacity of being your salesperson that's there. But I don't go into it saying, I got to build a relationship with you. We can do it quickly. Absolutely. We're taught to build rapport, which is not a relationship. Rapport is I getting you to start to like me. Okay. And again, I'm going to bring out the part of me that matches you. So that way we can actually be someone that likes each other. But when I look at it, relationship sales take too long because I got to build a relationship.
That's because you have a short sales cycle, though.
That's a true statement. I got 4 hours, right, to get you in and out and let it go. Now, I've done software sales. I've done all these things where, to me, it's going to be a lengthier process. But my answer is always come from a point of education, come from a point of needs analysis on what it is they're trying to do, right? And then give them the best fit for what it needs to be. So if I can sit with you and say, this is what da-da-da-da, and if I understand your business, then it's great. Whether we talk again after that, I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
We can send text messages, right? And I can send you cards through an automated system that says, happy birthday and things like that. But to me, the answer is going to be, I'm going to be the most effective I can for you in this immediate relationship, which is, do you like me? Are you going to listen to me? Can you believe me? And then will you buy from me?
So do they feel safe? Do they trust you? Do they feel respected?
Yeah, absolutely.
So you're building something. You're building some type of relationship. It might not be a relationship where, hey, we're going to go to lunch or we're going to do the other things.
I'm changing mine to Joe's.
This is good, huh? That's right.
I'm building rapport.
Remember,
Screw the relationship.
I've had people sit down and I'm like, I got people that work, and I love the phone, right? And so I'll have people sit down. They're like, yeah, I called, talked to the person, and said, okay, I'll call you back in a week. And I'm like, why didn't you offer him what we have? And he's like, building the relationship. He's got to know I'm going to call him back when I say I'm going to call. And I'm like, shut up. One shot, baby. Get him on the phone, talk to him. If they like what you're saying, you're going to get the second call. But
let me challenge that. So what's happening, I think, and I'm not challenging you. I want to challenge that person.
I'm challenging
what they think.
Yeah.
What they think is,
Yeah.
come on. So what I think is that person somehow inside themselves thinks they don't have a relationship or they don't have rapport. So they're trying to build something they think they don't have. And it sounds to me like, Joe, what you're saying is you build it immediately. And that was the very thing I said at the beginning. How do you build it fast and how do you build it deep?
So let's reverse engineer this. Okay. We're all consumers as well. Forget that Absolutely. We're the sales, whatever we're talking about. Forget it. We're the consumer. What do we want? Why do we go to our favorite restaurant? Why do we go to our favorite hotel? Why do we go to our favorite whatever? What is it? And it's all super basic. If you really think about it, what are we looking for? We're looking for consistency. We're looking for eventually people that get to know us, understand what we want. We know what meal we want. There's this repetitive nature or cycle that over time, it gets built up. When you're introduced to a new restaurant, you're relying heavily on somebody else's reputation of the restaurant. And then you may be like, this sucks. So when I'm a consumer and I'm going in, I have these expectations of what I would like to feel. I don't necessarily say I'm looking for something in somebody. They either present it to you and you're like, I really like this person. It's great. They're giving me great information. Or, man, this just feels dirty. Why do you keep telling me to just buy this car? It's not what I want. And there's so much listening that has to go into the entire process. When I wrote my book, The Communication Code, I basically decoded what I'd been doing since I was a kid when I started in real estate that had made me successful that I had no idea I was doing, which was I had a consistent pitch that talked about everything that I needed to go over so that I would cover or uncover the triggers that my clients were looking for me to hit, that even they didn't know that they needed to specify initially, but I'd find a way to hit on them. And not hit on them like sexually. So sorry, guys. Right? Just clarifying. But After that, it was okay. The same thing Joe had mentioned, mirroring and matching, right? You're starting to act a bit more like them, and people like people that act in a similar way. And then the words that you use, if you're empowering them, or, your credit's probably not great, I'll see what my finance department can do. And the tonality that you use versus, look, everybody has things going on. Let's see what we can do for you. The worst they can say is no. The best that can happen is, you prepared to drive out of here in that car? Yeah. Now, what did I do? I got them excited. And then based on reaction, the fourth thing that I teach people is how to read physiology. The same way Joe's talking about being over the phone and hearing it, which is a lot of what I do because I love the phone as well. But when you're face to face, you can read physiology. You can hear tonality. You can watch micro expressions on somebody's face. And when you're on target, if all they're doing is just staring at you like this and their eyes are open and they're going like that and they're hardly blinking. They're so engaged. If you've got anything other than that, get them back on track. But it's kind of like I broke down all these pieces that can create an awareness so that people understand how to. And the most challenging part for salespeople is that they don't even know that a roadmap exists for them that they can follow time in and time out in order to go through a process of seeing what the client needs.
So you give them narcotics too when you start the process?
It depends. Right? What time?
As soon as they go blank, right, then I know I got it. Sign here, press hard, 5 copies. Yeah.
Listen, when, all of us have been in that process where my dad used to call it hypnotizing people, when they're literally just watching you and nothing's happening other than they're waiting on every word that you drop because you're speaking their truth. You're hitting their triggers. You're painting a picture, as my dad would call it, and they can visualize it. And they're like, I want that. That's what I want. And that's it. But it's learning the awareness around all of that so you know where your client is at.
Well, and I'm going to say too that if you understand, and a lot of the training I've gone through myself is how does the brain work? So again, if you understand how the brain works and the way things are going to happen in your own head, then you can understand how it's going to happen in the client's head or the prospect's head. So for me, if everybody thinks in pictures, sounds, and feelings, then the words I'm using are going to create pictures, sounds, and feelings in their head. And am I saying the right things to put the right picture in people's heads? And the picture is going to be of a happy transaction, right? And ownership of this product and it delivering what it's supposed to be. And am I putting it there? And so when you get to that point, they are going to nod along with you and they are going to be completely engrossed because it's their world that you painted the picture in, instead of you trying to make it your picture and shove it on them, which is what a lot of salespeople do. When I was running a Toyota store, they were doing 650 units a month. I took them up to that 1,000 point. Okay, so I had to push. But the guys that were there, I used to sit back and I say, I want everybody to come in. So I would grab a card, right? Because car dealership, you have to have a card, right? I'd write down what kind of car, color, options, everything that they should be able to find out from me. And then I put it in my pocket and I say, hi, I'm here to look for a vehicle. And they had to ask me the right questions. They had to do it. You know that the guys that drove a Camry always ended up showing me Camrys, regardless of what it was. Then I pull out of my pocket, I wanted a truck. And they're like, what? And I go, how did I end up on a Camry? Because that's what you wanted. That's because that's what you drive and you're excited about it. So now you want to force that on me. And now you wonder why people leave. Well, they left because they wanted an SUV. They left because they wanted a truck. They wanted something smaller. And you're going to give me a Camry presentation because that's what you want to sell.
Because you didn't listen.
They didn't listen. They didn't even ask the right questions.
Yeah. Well, they weren't curious. They weren't curious enough to ask questions. And so
absolutely.
we know we see somebody. I believe what happens is we see somebody, we paint a picture, and that's how we interact with them, as that picture we painted. Yeah. And that is that part about us impressing ourselves upon other people. Like you said, if it's my ego, that's exactly that's exactly ego. The opposite is not impressing myself on someone else. So I want to ask about that. As I have a way that I do it, I'm interested in how you take yourself. Like, what is it you do to take yourself out of the other person? Like out of your I would say, to let go of some of your importance, if you will.
Well, that's not necessarily the best tactic
Okay.
for all sales. Because as you can see with these 3 and 4 personalities, we all kind of approach sales differently.
Absolutely.
And we all are successful at it. And so sometimes being extremely confident at who you are and how and what your product is, and the fact that everybody, connects with you immediately because you have this aura about you, that's you don't want to take that away from the equation. You
No.
want that. You want it, and it depends on the environment. I do remember when I was selling to hospitals, and they would actually put on the loudspeaker that I was there in the building. Put your wallets in the drawer. Charles Best has entered the building, and it was funny, but I conditioned them that way. And so even when we were in a very important board meeting, they pretty much said, "Well, you're a sales guy, Charles. We already know you're here to sell something." And I would just smile at them, and they go, "Okay, how much is it going to cost us to get you out of here?" I mean, it's just because you bring this personality maybe to the table. And I know Joe has that type of personality. Joe is going to walk into any sales environment, and people are going to realize he's really good at sales. And you
Right.
might as well just accept that, because you're going to figure that out quickly. But Steven is going to listen very carefully at what you're doing and what you're saying, and he's going to connect with you in a way that you're going to just kind of hypnotically pull your wallet out and give him all of your trust and your money. But that's because I think Steven has a longer sales cycle than what Joe has, and he knows he does. Most people aren't going to walk into your office, Steve, and then walk out with a house. I just don't think it works that way, But
It can. It can.
He's trying to make it happen more often.
I've done it.
I'll help you, Steven. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm coming back from an appointment tonight. First time I met the guy, and first house, only house, and we're writing, and we're going to win based on how I'm designing it. So I've even sold houses sight unseen to clients. So it's amazing what you can, where I haven't seen them or they haven't seen them. I've done all of it. So it's incredible what you can build when it comes to trust, even without physically meeting people. It's unreal. So there's a lot to be discovered in this topic for sure.
It's really interesting. I think
just to close out. Yeah. What you see is it's a menagerie of pieces that come together for sales to happen. And what happens is a lot of people think that it's a simple process, and it really isn't as simple as others. That's why so many people fail at sales. There's a lot that goes in. There's a lot of experience and wisdom and understanding. You see smoke down the road, and you know that smoke and where it's coming from in the sales process. And most people in sales just don't have the experience and knowledge or wisdom or training to spot some of that.
Or scars, right?
I was going to say, I've screwed it up so many times. I know what works, right? It's everything. It's the last thing I tried that actually got me the deal. But
that's right.
But yeah,
well,
and
we
so
all
again,
do different things, right? Like for me, in my profession as a loan officer, I'll be on the phone with somebody for 5 minutes, and they're like, "Hey, where can I send you my tax returns, my W-2, everything, like I said, my bank statements, my pay stub." They're doing that. So my process has to build trust and respect and safety like immediately, because they're going to send me like literally their whole life. Which exactly, where if you're buying a car, your trust and your respect and rapport and all that is for a different need, and it may not require the level of trust that you have to hand somebody all your paperwork that way. Or
I can say that, but I can also come back and say, right, the largest purchase almost anybody's going to make in their life is a house, right? And yet over half the population is in an apartment and renting. Okay, so over half of the population, the largest purchase they're ever going to make is with me.
It's a car,
right? And it's going to be that car, and it's going to be the most money they've ever chalked up. And I have a shorter cycle, but I also have a shorter loan term,
Yeah.
Right. So I've got to build that reality. I've got to build that image with them that justifies this payment and coming out. I still have to run a credit report. I still got to get your credit app. I still got to see your bank account. I still have to do all of the things that's going to come over. I'm just doing it in front of you in a shorter amount of time. So I don't give you the ability to go disappear for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But I will also tell you that I have other clients where it's software sales, and software sales is a year-long. I got to dehorse you from the software you have, right? And all the complaints from everybody in your business that doesn't want to change, and then give you the benefits on the other side of how to get it and put it in there. So it becomes a longer sales cycle. But the answer is, right, like Charles, they're going to say, hide your wallet. With me, they're going to sit down and go, I have a question because somebody told me this, and now they call me because I'm the guy who's going to tell you flat out yes or no if that makes sense for your company or not. Because I'm the guy telling you, if somebody has a better price, like I'm guilty of saying, well, I can't touch that, go for it. But you'll lose this functionality and this functionality. If that doesn't mean that much to you, right? And I can tell you right now, this one you don't really need. So this functionality piece that's right here, if that isn't enough to justify the cost difference, then go with that one. I'll still be here. If you have a bad experience, I'll still be here, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so they look and go,
it.
okay. And then, of course, that alone is going to be, wow, Joe didn't even fight to try to keep me. Well, because Joe said, if budget is your issue and I'm too expensive, then we're never going to win. You're going to hate me the whole time if I'm too expensive. Every month you pay the bill, you're going to hate it and want to try to do something other than that. Or you're going to spend every time the bill comes on the first, you're going to spend the first 5 days grinding me for a lower price. Right?
Yeah.
I don't want the headache. You don't want the headache. And when we realize that I'm not chasing you to make a sale, I'm looking for a long-term, actually, will this benefit you? And if it is, then great, because you'll still have my cell phone number, right? I guarantee we're all giving out cell phone numbers to people that are prospects. Okay. And I don't need that text message at 2 a.m. because they added me to some robo dialer campaign, right? That's going to start sending me all these nasty things like Steven did 3 months ago to me. But,
why'd you have to say that?
yeah, I got to call it out. That way you won't do another one.
That's right.
Wow.
I heard Stephen told me a story about somebody that called him and said something to him. Stephen, there was a story where somebody that called you and said, hey, you told me to call you back. And then you turned that into almost a coaching experience for the person. Do you remember what I'm talking about?
I think it was someone trying to sell me something. Was that
somebody
it?
called you and said, somebody
Remember,
called
Steven,
you.
it was the story about me, and you heard me say it, and then you started telling everybody it was yours, right?
You got to put your big pockets away there, Joe.
That's right. You're getting a condo, Joe. You're getting a condo. Okay?
Yes. Damn it.
A 1 bedroom.
Yes, I was going to say the studio, period.
Okay. We'll move on.
I'm not sure I remember the exact conversation, but it's like whenever, and I think the funny thing that all of us can probably attest to are guilty pleasures. Tell me if I'm wrong, but when we get solicitation calls from people, I don't hang up on them. I have to listen and analyze what they're saying, and I'm like, look, I'm not buying what you're selling, but would you be open to some feedback? And then they're usually just like, oh my God, I never thought about that. And then I'm like, do you think your sales management team would be interested in a conversation with me? Because I'd love to share this with them. Because are you getting that training? But no. So I'm not sure which one it was, but on numerous occasions, and my wife hates it when I do that because she just hangs up on them, right? But I'm like, let me see what I can help you figure out over here because you're not doing it right. So
that's awesome. I sent you something in the private chat. You'll remember when you read that. I think what we're saying is that we all have
in the private chat.
Private chat, so you remember the story.
That guy told me about Steven.
When we were driving.
Well, he told me that I said give me some dirt on Steven because I don't know him, but yet Steven and I have over 110 mutual friends. Isn't that weird?
on Facebook that we don't know, but that's great.
Right.
Right.
But
They're not real friends. Yeah.
They're my friends. Damn it.
You stole all my. And so, but what I'm just gonna change the subject. One of the things that I noticed that, and I hope other people that are watching this notice, is that for some reason there is a sense of humor that seems to play into most successful salespeople. Maybe they don't take themselves so serious. Maybe they don't take life so serious. But I most of the time I want to enjoy my time with a customer, and there's something about confidence and being able to just have, and humor is a skill as well, but that is something I see that everyone here possesses, and it does work really well for us.
Not Joe.
Joe has not funny.
Right. It's just a pretty basic thing. Not funny Joe is what people call me. I'll just change that on my name here in the StreamYard. Yeah. So
what about how does the desire to connect with people fit into your strategy for sales? Do you have a desire to connect with people? Is that an important thing for you?
Unless only if they're buying something from.
Yeah, boy, Charles.
Yeah, get him. Yeah. So what
hit it, quit it. Woo! Yeah.
Really, because I see all you guys on if I see you guys doing a Facebook Live or on somebody's show, you're always looking to contribute to make other people's lives better. Always.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I wanted to share that with some of that, like this desire to connect. I mean, back to personality profiling, right? Mm-hmm. You take an engineer, an accountant, they just want to bean count and like build bridges and stuff like that. They don't want to talk to people, or if you tell them a joke, they're like 8-second process and like, that was funny. and it's all based on personality profile. Honestly, if you really think about how people function on a daily basis. I'm a massive extrovert, but there are times where I'm just like, I want the world to leave me alone. I've talked to enough people in a day. I need to go like have my own space. I can't always process. Other people were very happy when COVID hit, and they're like, I never have to talk to another person ever again. So, it's personality profiling, in my opinion.
I'm really happy we're not in the same room. Let's just be real.
I love you, Joe.
Okay? Yes, right? No, again, massive introvert. I'm just a loud one. Okay, so to me, flipping over to Zoom and StreamYard and doing everything virtual is so much easier on me than it is trying to feed the energy in the room for everybody that is sitting down with training. And so to me, I love the fact that we went virtual, and I picked up like clients in New Zealand that I don't have to go fly over to now, and I don't have to lose a day here and a day back and all that. And I'm like, this is brilliant. This is exciting. And I like it. But I am the one that I need to lock myself in a room. If as an introvert, I'll sit back, and if I go to the float tank. So I'll go to a float tank, sensory deprivation tank, and 45 minutes in there feels like I've spent a week by myself and my energy's back up and I'm ready to go, as opposed to like my wife, who's like, after a long day running the dealership, you've been out training, let's go to the mall. And I'm like, do you know how many energy vampires are sitting at the mall? I can't afford to feed all these people, right? And it's just, again, the desire to connect is there, but I connect with intention. And it's not just the desire to connect.
So you're an introvert. So how do you, so you're talking about like the different types of people, kinesthetic. I'm never good with that. Kinesthetic.
Right. Auditory. It's so the learning process is either visual, auditory, or kinesthetic. Okay. So I look at introvert, extrovert, not as personality, as how do you recharge? So yes. An extrovert goes into a group to get energy and charge up, and that's where they shine. Where an introvert goes and locks themselves in the man cave, turns off all the lights, and builds up their energy to come back out into the world. So you're either giving off energy, which would be the introvert, or you're accepting energy, which is an extrovert. And so they get out there. So to my wife, it's let's keep running. Let's keep running. Let's go out where people are. And I'm like, woo, no. Personality wise, I'm loud. You guys know that.
Can I ask
40 minutes.
It's an interesting, two different spheres, because you would think as an introvert, you would be the exact opposite of that.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it paid better to be outgoing with personality.
Yeah.
Right. Going through the personality profiles and stuff, I went through all of them. I created my own just because I'm so, anal about it. But I was like, I got diagnosed, looked at it, and I was like, okay, I went through. All right, I'm this. And then I said, what pays the most? Oh, it's this one. So I'm going to go and learn that personality type, and I'm going to change mine. Now, based on my analytical nature, I can sit down and take any personality test you give me, and I can say, what do you want me to score? Right?
That's
and I can go through and do that because of the way I'm wired. But again, I also sat down and said, which one pays better? Right? And the engineered one, because I'm an electrical engineer by degree, right, is not the one that paid better.
Right.
Right? The outgoing, controlling sales guy is the one that paid better.
Nice. Go ahead, Charles.
I can see that. I have a question. It's totally off topic, but I know that we're running out of time, so I just wanted to ask you guys, all three of you guys, this question, because when you mentioned that your wife looks at things differently, am I the only one that loves watching people like the candidates? And I don't care, what political affiliation. I love a good salesman, and I love hearing how it's like, did you see how that person did not say what everyone thinks they said? They said it this way, so they never. I mean, I'm like complete, and my wife hates. She's like, but it came from him. It's so good.
Yeah.
Right. No, I'm with you. But again, a great salesman can always appreciate a great sales presentation. You can appreciate a good salesperson because, again, like Steven, I am going to listen to that guy on the phone, right? I'm the guy who sits down and goes, that was a great assumptive close. And they're like, how did you know the word assumptive close? I'm like, dude, you're 20 and somebody taught you the word. We've been living it for years. Right. And they're so amazed by the fact terminology that has to do with the training they went through. Right.
Like they made it up. Like it was just made up right there. Yeah.
Right. They're like, oh my gosh. Yeah. But again, and I can appreciate it. And I do the same thing. I'll sit back and go, you know what? If you change your vocabulary from saying this to this, it'll get there. I sit with waitresses and I turn around and I go, you want to make more tips this evening? And they're like, absolutely. Right. I'm like, unbutton. No, I say, if you look at this and I say, bottom line, I go, every time somebody says something, stop saying no problem. Look at them and say, absolutely, certainly, or my pleasure.
It's like the no worries thing. I have such a problem with no worries.
Yep. Well, that's the same
such
deal,
a lost
right?
opportunity. It's such a lost opportunity. You go into you get somebody that does something nice for you and you thank them and they go, no worries. And I just think you just lost an opportunity to say, thank you for coming. We really appreciate your patronage.
You're most welcome. I'm looking forward to seeing you again. Right? Something along those lines.
Well, Chick-fil-A says my pleasure. You're like, really? It was your pleasure?
Right. No, well, again, regardless of however many shades of gray you have in your head, pleasure ain't a bad word. Right? It's not. So it's giving them something positive to say as they go through. Right? Absolutely. I made your day. What? That's amazing. I feel good about me being so great that I provided you with pleasure. So
it just seems that people are they're just willing to say whatever they say and not look and see how does what I say affect you? So they got the listening. I'm going to listen to what you're saying. And then if we're in some type of relationship, if we have rapport, then what comes out of my mouth is going to be important. It's going to land a particular way because you're sitting listening for my advice. You're sitting listening for my counsel. You actually are saying, I am open to considering what you're saying. And if we don't say something that's powerful or doesn't make a difference, then what use was the rapport? What use was that?
Awareness.
You might get a sale. You may get a sale.
Honestly, it's awareness. People that have been doing this for a long time, the same way that Joe was talking about, I failed until I tried the last thing and it worked, right? It's just like, okay, what wasn't working? Oh, this worked, right? But it's interesting because that's what happens in so many occasions. Like I try this, and then something clicks. And there's just an awareness about it. And a lot of people aren't doing what we do on a daily basis, talking to people, training people, having an understanding of the selling process, like what goes into it, so that you can be connected to it. A lot of people are just talking and responding. They're not aware of the term that I created. I think I've told this to you, Martin, is conversational direction, right? I create conversational direction. I lead people down a path because I'm aware of where I'm taking them. But after enough training, it just becomes like a natural conversation because none of it is false. You just know what to cut out. You know what's important. You know where you're going. And at the same time, you're connecting, right? You're developing a relationship or rapport. And then they're like, I really like that person. That Charles is just like, oh, I don't want to put my wallet away when he comes to the hospital anymore. I love him. Right.
That's right.
I just hand him my checkbook when he comes in the door. It's easier.
I've already mailed him mine. I gave him my Apple credit card too. So,
I'm just sending him money. I'm still hitting zeros.
Yeah. There's just an awareness that so many people, once you tap into it, and I think, so let me ask all of you this, like Charles, you just did that. Did everybody have that kind of aha moment, right? Where you learned, oh, wow, that's
absolutely. I'm learning something from everybody here tonight.
Absolutely.
But it's because it's a topic I'm interested in, of course.
True.
But it's also I'm learning from experts. I've learned to listen when there's information that I can really obtain, and you guys are experts, and so it's great. It's great hanging with you guys to hear, that it validates some of the things that I've said and I've learned, but it also teaches me, and reminds me. Most of the sales stuff in my book is a reminder of things that we had already known, like just the use of the word thank you, for instance. It's just a reminder of how powerful simple techniques are. And so it's great to hear from you guys.
Well, it seems to me like what Stephen was saying and what you're saying right now is take responsibility for what you say. It's like whatever happens in my office, whatever happens in my career, I am responsible. I take complete responsibility for all of it. If I get the sale, if I don't get the sale, that's on me. It's always on me.
I think it's doing
but that's rare with the personality type of people in sales, right? And so that's why you can. So if you're looking at a personality type of sales, so for me, I'll go back to automotive. In automotive, first day of the month, guess what? You're at zero, right? And I look at you, Charles, and Charles is gonna be my salesperson. I'm gonna go, Charles, how much money are you gonna make this month? He goes, I'm gonna make $10,000. And you go, why are you excited? Right? Why are you excited? I don't know. How are you gonna get there? I don't know. Right? And that's the same guy that we go, well, here's our 47 steps to a sale that I need you to follow. Shame on us for thinking that's the person that's going to get there. I need your ability with people. I'm going to back it up with somebody else who can do more clerical stuff and go through. So understanding the strengths of what's needed in a position and then growing the person from there. But again, when you realize you have to be somewhat analytical, do some of the ugly paperwork stuff, all of a sudden you become a candidate for sales management. Right? And the answer is you now get to be a sales manager and have like 7 people that were just like you when you started that don't know nothing but are excited. Right? And now you get to herd cats. And that's your whole deal of saying, I got a sales team and how do I put them together? And so
pull your hair out.
Yeah. And you go, wow, I really would have hated myself as an employee. Yes. But,
now I just hate myself as a sales manager.
Right. Now I'm a manager. Yeah.
So
level.
The topic tonight was what makes great salesperson. I think we definitely touched on that in more ways than one. We talked about strategies, personality types, where you have to come from. And I just want to wrap it up and just thank all you guys for hanging out. And before we close off, I'd like to just hear if you have any last words, maybe some advice or something you haven't said but you'd like to share, and then tell people a little bit about what you do and how people can get a hold of you. I know each one of you has amazing expertise, and I've learned from everyone, all 3 of you. So I highly recommend, if you're watching still, any 3 of these experts are worth spending some time with. So Joe, how about we start with you?
Thank you very much, Martin. I appreciate the opportunity to be out here. So in order to find me anywhere on social media, you just go to thegeniuslinks.com. It's a landing page, has everything that I put out on the web. I put a lot of stuff out for free. Every Wednesday, I do a free sales call here on Facebook where I bring in experts who will teach you something, because truly, when I look at things and I say, your sales team has become deaf to your talking. Okay. It's called parent deaf, right?
Exactly.
You go over,
it's like your children.
Your children can't hear you anymore because you sound like Charlie Brown's teacher. And most of us are old enough to know what that means. I do a show with millennials. They're like, who? Yeah. But Charlie Brown, wah, wah, wah is all they hear. Right. And so the answer is you got to bring in somebody from the outside, even if all I'm doing is regurgitating what you have been saying to them, because they can hear it from me that they can't hear it from you. And you've got great stuff that you've told them. It's just they can't hear it. And so be ready, right, to say, I put everything I could into my team, but I need to give somebody else a shot to do that. And that takes a lot, checking your own ego to bring somebody in. So
I love it. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Stephen, how about you go next?
One of the things that I learned along the way was what I call the Justin Timberlake, Janet Jackson wardrobe malfunction. And I like to, no, not that one, Joe. Thank you.
Okay.
What I like about that is that live TV is no longer live TV. And there's a 5-second buffer. So I try to teach people that you can have a 5-second buffer in your own brain, because a lot of us are like, as soon as we process, it comes right out of our mouth, instead of just take a minute to think about that, because you might not be able to come back from that. So again, Rome wasn't built in a day, but it was destroyed in one. And a lot of the rapport that we take time building, if we say and do the wrong thing, and that filter wasn't operating, I mean, you can destroy everything that you've been spending hours, days, weeks, months, years building. So pay attention to that little filter, because it's probably not wrong.
That's great. Charles.
Hello, man. You guys have such great nuggets. I'm already jealous that you guys are getting more things written about you than I am about me.
Joe's
got
the
nothing.
superstar here.
I got nothing.
Well,
man.
if you want, just play the video back, Charles. I mean, it's all right there. But if you remember, Charles said the most important thing, right?
Thank you.
I listened to my wife. That's what he said.
Yeah.
Okay, that
Exactly.
right there was just a mic drop, and I said what I said. Yeah,
I appreciate that. It was more, I listened and I actually told her that I heard what she said, because I've listened to her and got the wrong impression 1,000 times. And when I finally was able to say, did you just say this? And she says, yes, that is mega. That is
right.
But, because that doesn't happen often. Try it at home, kids.
That's right. Try listening to mom, kids.
Yeah. So, for me, I got a lot of ahas from today with you guys, but what I want to leave with you is that I believe there's this pendulum, and there's a book called The Pendulum, but there's a pendulum, and kind of like what's coming back is the connection part. What's coming back is etiquette. What's coming back are words like, what can I do to earn your business? It's coming back is treating people like people instead of the robo response type of stuff that everyone is learning today. And so I just encourage people to kind of, be in tune with how the world kind of goes back and forth. Bell bottoms will be back, things like that. And what's coming back in the sales aspect is a one-on-one connection. That's why people actually, for a while they were responding to text messages, and every 90 seconds or whatever, you get, text messages read. But now that's not so much anymore. Now it's more, if I got a letter in the mail, I'm gonna open, like, he wrote me a letter, right? And so I'm not saying to go back to snail mail, but I'm saying just be mindful of the fact that this pendulum is shifting. And right now, for me, teaching people how to use a person's name in a conversation, how to understand the personality traits, especially your own. Those are skills that are needed today so that you can interact with folks in a quicker and more authentic way. So my book is called Ninja Sales Secrets. You can get it at buycharlesbook.com. I tried to figure out something catchy. And you can also just find me online. I'll be on watching Joe's live show tomorrow, so I'm really glad to meet you guys. And Stephen, I hear you wrote a couple children's books, which is awesome. I have 2 grandchildren, so I'd love to learn more about that. And so thank you guys for having me here, and I appreciate it.
That's cool.
Thank you, guys.
I'm really grateful for all you guys, all 3 of you, to show up. My sales system is a lot simpler. I don't remember personality types, and I don't remember, kinesthetic and all those things. For me, I just stay curious about people, and I just look at, what's right there, and I look to be curious, and I ask questions. But the way that I do it is I actually am authentically curious. So I don't necessarily look for the right question. Curiosity gives the right question in the way I look at it, because curiosity tells the person I care, and I'm actually listening. I'm actually interested. And that's my little sales secret for the night. So I want to thank you guys for hanging out with me tonight, and just bringing such great wisdom. I can't wait to go back and listen to everything you guys said. Joe, it's a pleasure to finally spend some time with you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thanks for being here. Charles, it's always great. And Stephen, we'll talk probably tomorrow.
We got to get on a bike together, Martine.
It's right. The bike's right here. So yeah.
Not together. We got to both go riding.
That's right. I'll ride on mine and you ride on yours. Okay.
I was going to say, who's on the handlebars, guys? That's the question. Yeah.
That's me.
Pedal faster.
They
You're
look
so
weird.
slow, Charles. Hey guys, thanks for hanging out. Appreciate it. You guys have an all great evening.
Thank you.
So much. Take
Bye,
care.
guys.